Chapter 351, I mind you can go now. I mind, a cold voice sounded. Huo Liancheng strode over and pulled Jian Yun away from Huo Chengfeng with a cold face, protecting her behind him. He looked at Huo Chengfeng coldly and mocked. Big brother really can smell it and attack. He won't let go of any chance. Huo Chengfeng's eyes twitched when he saw Huo Liancheng. He smiled and said, It's just a joke. Liancheng, don't be angry. Don't joke like that in the future. You can get lost. Huo Liancheng did not hold back and did not give Huo Chengfeng any room to step down. Huo Chengfeng saw Huo Chengfeng. The noise had attracted a lot of people. He rubbed his nose and laughed awkwardly. Liancheng, you are the same as before. I can't joke with you. Let's go. Huo Liancheng did not want to look at Huo Chengfeng anymore. He protected Jian Yun and left. When Jian Yun turned around, she saw Huo Chengfeng blinking at her. It was so light. Jian Yun coldly retorted. When the two of them entered the house, Huo Chengfeng also followed them in. Shen Fanqi was squatting in front of Huo Qingcheng and touching her. She looked like she could not bear to part with her. When she saw someone come in, she turned her head to look, but was stunned when she saw Huo Chengfeng. Huo Chengfeng's expression was natural. Auntie. Jian Yun deliberately looked at Shen Fanqi and was not surprised to see the desolate look in Shen Fanqi's eyes when she heard these two words. Why are you here? Shen Fanqi asked. Of course I heard Liancheng was back, so I came to see him. I didn't think he would leave so soon. Huo Chengfeng smiled. Then I'll give Liancheng a present as well. Shen Fanqi looked at Huo Chengfeng and then at Huo Liancheng. It's been a long time since you two brothers have seen each other. The things are still being packed. You two can sit down and talk. Immediately after, Jian Yun noticed that Huo Liancheng's hand, which was holding her hand tightly, suddenly tightened. He said coldly, I have nothing to say. I still have matters to attend to, so I won't be accompanying you. Huo Chengfeng seemed to be really here to see Huo Liancheng off. He didn't get angry when he heard Huo Liancheng being so rude. Instead, he sat down calmly. He looked at Huo Qingcheng, who looked so stiff and thin that she had lost her shape. He asked with concern, Qingcheng hasn't recovered yet? Shen Fanqi did not say anything for a long time. Jian Yun followed Huo Liancheng upstairs. At this time, she turned her head and saw Shen Fanqi's expression was filled with confusion and worry. She also looked at Huo Chengfeng with an incomparably complicated expression. Jian Yun could not help thinking in her heart that Shen Fanqi still had resentment towards Huo Chengfeng in her heart when her only daughter became like this. Shen Fanqi called the nanny over to push Huo Qingcheng away. She sat down and faced Huo Chengfeng face to face. It seemed like she had something to say. However, no one noticed that Huo Qingcheng's hand, which had been on her knees all this while, suddenly trembled the moment she saw Huo Chengfeng come in. Due to Huo Chengfeng's arrival delaying the flight time, when the plane arrived in China, it was almost dawn. Huo Liancheng did not mention Huo Chengfeng, and Jian Yun did not ask any more questions. After the plane landed, Huo Liancheng asked Jian Yun to go home to rest. He settled Huo Qingcheng in the villa and told Jian Yun on the plane that they were going to move to the villa this time. Jian Yun did not have any objections to this. The villa was in the outskirts of the city and was a little far from the city center. However, the transportation there was also very convenient and the facilities were well equipped. The main reason was that the air was good and the environment was good. It was very beneficial for Huo Qingcheng's recovery. Moreover, wherever Huo Liancheng was, she would go. The place with him was the home. So busy, a week passed in the blink of an eye. These few days, Jian Yun had been accompanying Huo Qingcheng. Every day she pushed her to the garden and accompanied her to talk. Although Huo Qingcheng still did not show any signs of improvement, she was clearly very reliant on Jian Yun. She would not be able to see her later. Ever since the news of the marriage was exposed, Jian Yun decided to resign. Huo Liancheng did not have any objections this time. In the past, he did not want her to resign because he was not sure of her feelings. He was afraid that she would be seduced away when she went out. Now, his state of mind was completely different. Every day when he Furthermore, Jian Yun did not stay idle at home. Her experience of taking care of her mother had come in handy. She had taken good care of Huo Qingcheng. Huo Liancheng really loved her from the bottom of his heart and was grateful to her. Time slowly passed. On this day, Jian Yun was pushing Huo Qingcheng to sit in the park pavilion and read to Huo Qingcheng. Suddenly she felt that someone was looking at her. Initially, Jian Yun did not take it seriously. Every time she went out to see her there would be more people. Furthermore, she now knew that Huo Liancheng was worried about her and Huo Qingcheng's safety. He arranged a lot of security around them. Some were in the open, and most were in the dark. She was not afraid of encountering bad people. The security measures in the villa were the strongest. However, for a few days, whenever Jian Yun went out, she felt like she was being watched. This inevitably made her nervous. However, Huo Liancheng went on a business trip. Jian Yun did not want him to worry and kept quiet, but this situation did not improve. Instead, it became worse. Now that she returned home, she felt that she had eyes behind her back. Jian Yun could only call Huo Liancheng and tell him about her worries. Huo Liancheng was very nervous. It could be said that as long as it was related to Jian Yun, he attached great importance to it. He told Jian Yun not to go out for the next 2 days. He would rush back as soon as possible and arrange for more people to go to the villa through the phone. He also asked people to investigate. Jin Yun did not know if it was because she did not have a good rest recently that she would let her imagination run wild. As long as her phone was turned on, there would be countless numbers of phone calls. She could not zero. However, there was still a lot of news on WeChat and Weibo every day. There Jin Yun decided not to go on WeChat. She just wanted to wait for time to pass, and those people's enthusiasm would slowly fade. However, Jian Yun ignored the greed of human nature. Jian Dongming did not know where he got Jian Yun's new number. He asked Jian Yun to introduce Lin Lanlan to Huo Liancheng and let the sisters serve the same husband. He was reprimanded by Jian Yun and scolded her in anger. These few days he actually licked his face and came to Jian Yun again to borrow money. At night, Bai Yanran called Jian Yun and told her that Lin Fen was crying in the classmate group and was bullied by Jian Yun. However, Jian Yun also felt that it was not a good idea to just ignore her. So before she went to bed at night, she logged into WeChat and looked through the messages in the group. When she looked, she found that those cold words were from Lin Fen's group. Ever since the previous Weibo incident, Lin Fen had been banned by the major film companies and media. Even her financial backer had abandoned her, so she vented all of her resentment on Jian Yun. She thought that Jian Yun was the one who caused her to be in such a miserable state. Chapter 352, Qing Cheng is here. However, almost everyone in the group was talking to themselves. Most of them remained silent. Jian Yun looked and saw only Bai Yanran and Lin Fen tearing each other apart. But it seemed that Lin Fen only kept repeating those few sentences. In the end, even Bai Yanran was no longer interested in her. Jian Yun thought about it and sent out the message that Lin Fen had been spamming. She's doing it. The heavens are watching. Then she sent a wronged expression and wrote, "It looks like I really am not welcome. Then I will leave the group. Goodbye, students." After the message was sent, Jian Yun waited for a few seconds and saw that everyone in the group who had been silent all came out, and they were all trying to persuade Jian Yun to stay. They scolded Lin Fen for not knowing what was good for her. In the blink of an eye, dozens of messages appeared in the group. Jian Yun curled her lips and left the group. Isn't it just pretending to be a white lotus flower? Who doesn't know? Jian Yun had just left the group when she received Bai Yanran's private letter. There was only a thumbs-up emoji and a smile on her face. Jian Yun also replied with a grinning emoji. Bai Yanran sent a voice message to her and said, "The group exploded. Haha, Lin Fen was scolded so badly." These people all acted according to the situation. When Lin Fen was pleased with herself, they all surrounded her. Even if they did not care about the behavior of her sponsor, money is the master. There were many people who licked their faces. Now seeing that your boyfriend is more outstanding, they came to please you again. Jian Yun smiled. Who knows if it is true or fake? Most people are probably waiting to see when I will be abandoned. Bai Yanran agreed. Yes, we have a private group. Those people do not know about my relationship with you. These days, we have been discussing. You must have used some means to get Huo Liancheng to marry you. They even bet that you will be abandoned by him in at most half a year. Haha. Jian Yun sighed. So it is better to find a suitable family. Just like you and me, little uncle, you do not have these troubles. Bai Yanran said. Forget it. Let's see how much your handsome man Huo treats you. I think the one who is worried about being abandoned all day is him, not you. Jian Yun exclaimed. You even know this? Bai Yanran was shocked. It really is like this. I made a wild guess. Jian Yun smiled. Okay. Someone called me to talk to me. Jian Yun had a phone number, Ouyang Fei's phone. Yunduo, your father is looking for you again today? Jian Yun had just picked up the phone when she heard Ouyang Fei anxiously ask. Yes, he wants me to lend him money. Jian Yun said gloomily. Right now, she really regretted it. Back then, she should have settled the matter of her parents' divorce earlier. She had been dragging it out until now, but Jian Dongming suddenly went back on his word. He was not willing to divorce. Clearly, he wanted to borrow her relationship with Huo Liancheng to ask for money. Did you agree? Jian Yun asked. Ouyang Fei was very anxious. No, I said I didn't have money. He asked me to look for Liancheng. I refused him. I won't use his money. Jian Yun got angry when she said this. Ever since the news of her marriage with Huo Liancheng was announced, there was a large group of people. There were relatives who could not be tied up. There were also friends who did not interact with each other for many years. They came to her every day to borrow money. They even said that Huo Liancheng had 100 billion yuan net worth. 1 or 200,000 was not intent. At first, Jian Yun was fine with rejecting. She said that the money belonged to Huo Liancheng. She could not make the decision. Those people started to mock and ridicule her. They said everything that was difficult to. When Ouyang Fei heard these words, she immediately heaved a sigh of relief. But Mom, Dad said that if I don't give him money, he won't divorce. Jian Yun was very worried. Ouyang Fei was obviously disheartened by Jian Dongming and had already made up her mind to divorce. She did not want to live with a scumbag like Jian Dongming anymore. If Jian Dongming kept delaying the divorce, it would not be a good thing. This is not up to him. Ouyang Fei sneered. He has the nerve to threaten me. I have consulted a lawyer. The divorce agreement is valid, and he broke the law first. He is suspected of transferring property. I am not afraid even if we fight him in court. Jian Yun bit her lips. Although Jian Dongming had disappointed her and her affection for him was slowly wiped out by the endless demands, her blood was thicker than water. From the bottom of her heart, she did not want to tear it up too badly. Yunduo, don't feel pressured. You must discuss everything with Liancheng first. Don't make decisions on your own. The complexity of the human heart is not something you can imagine. Don't feel guilty about your father. If you want to talk about guilt, it should be him who feels guilty first. Wu Yangfei had clearly completely lost her heart. She had already reached the point of disgust towards Jian Dongming. Got it, Mom. Jian Yun also understood that Wu Yangfei's heart had indeed been hurt by Jian Dongming. Now that she had come back from the gates of hell, she had seen through everything. However, she could not ignore the fact that Jian Dongming did not help her and even allowed Lin Rong to hurt her. Okay, then you should rest well. You don't need to worry about your mother. Lawyer Lei will take care of it. Don't worry. Wu Yangfei softened her tone and slowly said. After hanging up the phone, Jian Yun was a little stunned. 2 weeks ago, Huo Liancheng had arranged for Wu Yangfei to go to the most famous hospital in the capital for rehabilitation. She was not in Qinghu, and she had to stay in the capital for at least a month. Therefore, the divorce was left to Lei Chensheng. But thinking about it, with Lei Chensheng's ability, a divorce like this should not be a problem. Dong dong dong. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Elena's voice sounded. Madam, Miss is looking for you. Jian Yun got out of bed and went to open the door. She saw Helena pushing Huo Qingcheng at the door. When Huo Qingcheng saw her, her eyes immediately lit up. This was not the first time this kind of situation happened. When Huo Liancheng was still at home, Huo Qingcheng insisted that Jian Yun accompany him to sleep. Sometimes when Huo Liancheng and Jian Yun were doing shameful things, they would come knocking on the door. Huo Liancheng was very angry but also helpless because Huo Qingcheng had clearly improved a lot since she left Switzerland and came to China. He was no longer as silly as before. His eyes had a look of liveliness. Later on, Huo Liancheng had a psychological trauma and did not dare to do that embarrassing thing in the bedroom. He was afraid that he would be interrupted at the critical moment. What's wrong? Qingcheng, can't you sleep? Jian Yun looked at the time. It was past 9 o'clock. This was Huo Qingcheng's sleeping time. Sister. Huo Qingcheng looked at Jian Yun. Jian Yun let Helena push Huo Qingcheng into the room. Helena carried Huo Qingcheng and placed her on the bed. When Huo Liancheng was not at home, Huo Qingcheng occupied his position. You go out first. I will take care of her. Jian Yun let Helena go out. Helena looked at Huo Qingcheng. Her eyes flashed, but she did not say anything. She nodded and greeted before turning around and walking out. When there was only Jian Yun and Huo Qingcheng left in the room, Jian Yun also laid down like before and planned to rest. Huo Qingcheng did not know how to speak. When they were together, Jian Yun was the one who spoke, but it was already very late and Jian Yun felt that it was time to sleep. However, just when Jian Yun was about to turn off the lights, she suddenly noticed someone pulling her. In this room, other than her, it was Huo Qingcheng. Was that Huo Qingcheng pulling her? Chapter 353, Defeat of Qingcheng. Jian Yun had just turned off the lights when she turned on the lights again. She turned her head to look, and indeed, Huo Qingcheng's hand was pulling her sleeves. Qingcheng? Jian Yun was a little surprised. Although Huo Qingcheng's condition had improved a bit compared to when she was in Switzerland these days, it was only a little bit. When she saw her and Huo Liancheng, her eyes would turn. It was the first time that she was dragged into a situation like this. 2 days ago, when Granny Liao came, Huo Qingcheng did not react at all. However, Jian Yun waited for a long time but did not see Huo Qingcheng behaving strangely again. She could not help but raise her brows. She wondered if she was thinking too much. How could a person who had just woken up from a vegetative state recover so quickly? Thinking so, Jian Yun conveniently turned off the light again. She laid down and conveniently covered Huo Qingcheng with the blanket. At this moment, Jian Yun realized that her hand was grabbed by Huo Qingcheng. While she was shocked, she did not know if this was Huo Qingcheng's unconscious action. Thus, she did not speak and only looked at the woman beside her in the darkness. What Jian Yun did not expect was that Huo Qingcheng actually drew in her palm. At first, Jian Yun did not pay attention, but then she realized that Huo Qingcheng was actually writing. Big sister. Jian Yun recognized these 2 words, and her mouth immediately opened wide in shock. Huo Qingcheng can write? Wasn't she in a vegetative state? Don't talk. Huo Qingcheng wrote again. Jian Yun immediately swallowed the words that had already rushed to her mouth, but her heart was already like a raging wave. In the darkness, her eyes were wide open, and she was almost staring intently at Huo Qingcheng by the side. Her brain was already in a state of emergency. What exactly is going on? Could it be that Huo Qingcheng had been pretending all this time? Huo Qingcheng lay on her side and maintained a face-to-face position with Jian Yun. In the darkness, Jian Yun could only roughly see her outline. She only saw Huo Qingcheng not moving and her fingers moved slowly but firmly in her palm. Big sister, don't be surprised. I am Qingcheng. Jian Yun's heart was beating wildly. Huo Qingcheng could read minds? She even knew if this woman in front of her was a fake. Sister, there's a listening device on the wheelchair. Don't talk and pretend to sleep. Huo Qingcheng continued to write on Jianyun's palm. Jianyun was shocked and subconsciously glanced at the wheelchair beside the bed. She could not suppress the doubt in her heart. She grabbed Huo Qingcheng's hand and wrote, "What is going on? You have returned to normal?" After writing, Jianyun felt that there was something wrong with these words, but it was not convenient to ask at this time, and could only continue writing. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean that." "It's okay, big sister. Actually, I woke up a year ago. I can't explain it in a short time. I'll tell you in the future." Huo Qingcheng wrote. Writing in the palm of her hand was, indeed, very time-consuming. Furthermore, in this darkness, there was more than half of her guess. Jianyun could only suppress the doubt in her heart. "Okay." Pausing for a moment, she wrote again. "Then why did you?" Before Jianyun could finish writing, Huo Qingcheng grabbed her hand and continued to write. "Big sister, that person came, and he might harm you. You have to be careful." "Who is it?" Jianyun was confused. She felt that Huo Qingcheng's words had no end. Who would harm her? Huo Chengfeng. When Huo Qingcheng wrote these 3 words, Jianyun clearly felt her hands shake. She could not help but feel a little heartache for Huo Qingcheng. Just because of the hatred in Huo Chengfeng's heart, this innocent girl had suffered such a great misfortune. Now when she mentioned that person's name, she actually felt fear. However, Jianyun still could not understand. She did not know Huo Chengfeng and only met him in Switzerland. Why did he want to deal with her? Jianyun wrote her doubts in Huo Qingcheng's hands. Huo Qingcheng stopped for a long time before replying with 2 words. "Brother." This answer was too simple. But Jianyun immediately understood. Huo Qingcheng's meaning was that what Huo Chengfeng wanted to deal with was not her, but Huo Liancheng. Could it be that she had been feeling uneasy for the past few days and felt that someone was staring at her from behind, not from an empty hole, but from Huo Chengfeng? Jianyun's heart suddenly became nervous. What was this Huo Chengfeng trying to do? He had already caused Huo Qingcheng to be like this, yet he still did not stop. "Big sister, I have Huo Chengfeng's people by my side. I am very afraid, so I do not dare to tell anyone. Actually, I have already woken up a long time ago. I remember what happened in the past, but I don't dare to show it. My mother has always been determined to protect Huo Chengfeng. She doesn't even care about her brother. I can only continue playing dumb." Huo Qingcheng wrote very slowly. Although her mind had recovered, her body was still very weak. She had been lying on the bed all this time. Later on that was why she... "Then does your brother know?" Jianyun asked. She did not want Huo Qingcheng to be too tired, but she was really too shocked. If the questions in her heart could not be answered, she would not sleep at night. "I did not have the chance to tell him that he rarely came back. Even if he did come back, he did not stay alone. There are many things that I do not dare to tell brother. I am afraid that brother will go crazy if he knows." Huo Qingcheng wrote slower and slower, but she still... "Also, what is it?" Jianyun understood these words, and her eyelids suddenly jumped. What exactly was it that Huo Qingcheng felt could make Huo Liancheng go crazy? This time, Huo Qingcheng was silent for a long time before she slowly wrote. "Sister, don't ask." Jianyun held Huo Qingcheng's hand, and something seemed to be stuck in her throat. It made her feel like she could not breathe. "Go to sleep." Jianyun reached out and patted Huo Qingcheng's shoulder. She whispered in her ear. Huo Qingcheng nodded and then closed her eyes. However, her eyelashes were trembling non-stop. Jianyun's heart ached as she hugged her tightly. It was late at night, and Huo Qingcheng had already fallen asleep. However, Jianyun could not fall asleep no matter what. Huo Qingcheng's words were like thunder rumbling in her ears. Although Huo Qingcheng explained a lot of things, Jianyun felt that there was still a fog lingering in front of her eyes, which led to more mysteries. Firstly, she suspected what Huo Chengfeng's motive was. Was it really because he hated Shen Fangqi's actions of abandoning him that he took revenge? Or was it because she coveted the Huo family's huge family business? After all, the Huo family had always been the eldest son to inherit the family business tradition. His father was just a branch of the Huo family. Jianyun tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep, so she got up, wrapped herself in her nightgown, and took her phone to the washroom. She dialed Huo Liancheng's number. He was in America now, so it should be almost noon. Huo Liancheng quickly picked up the phone and spoke in a pampering tone. "Why isn't he sleeping at midnight?" "I miss you." Jianyun sat on the toilet and murmured. "Wait a minute." Huo Liancheng hung up the phone, and Jianyun saw him calling her. "Be good, I will go back after I finish my work. Sleep early." Huo Liancheng looked at Jianyun's blurry face in the darkness, and his tone softened, revealing an indescribable sweetness. Chapter 354, Photograph of Guoguo, but Huo Liancheng immediately frowned. "Where are you? Why are you so dark?" "The restroom." Jianyun turned on the light and looked at Huo Liancheng's face on the screen. She suddenly felt sad and her nose was sore. "Don't tell me you were bored sitting on the toilet. That's why you called me." Huo Liancheng's mouth twitched when he saw that the background was not right. "I'm full every day. How can I be bored?" Jianyun pouted. Her eyes rolled as she thought about how to tell Huo Liancheng about Huo Qingcheng. However, Jianyun thought about it and was still worried. According to Huo Changfeng could place people beside her. Even the wheelchair was monitored. This villa was probably not safe. Joyer, is something the matter? Huo Liancheng saw Jian Yun's expression. Something was not right. No, Jian Yun decided to be careful. What if the bathroom was also bugged? Really? Huo Liancheng raised his eyebrows. Of course! Jian Yun bent her eyes and smiled. She said, hang up first, I'll send you a nude photo. Do you want to see it? Let me see. Huo Liancheng's eyes lit up with excitement. Jian Yun pursed her lips and smiled. She pouted and kissed Huo Liancheng. She hung up the phone and opened WeChat. She found the picture of Era, whose hair had been shaved off, looking up at the sky and leering at Huo Liancheng. Before sending it to Huo Liancheng, she said, get ready to have a nosebleed. Huo Liancheng sent over an emoji with 2 eyes and stars. Jian Yun sent dopey over. Huo Liancheng was silent for 3 seconds and sent a sentence gloomily. You took off your pants and showed me this? Jian Yun could imagine Huo Liancheng's current depressed expression and could not help but laugh until he leaned back. Be careful when you go back and make sure you can't get out of bed for 3 days. Huo Liancheng threatened. I'm so scared. Jian Yun sent him a look of fear. The two of them just kept going back and forth. The little couple flirted and chatted passionately, but Jian Yun still remembered Huo Qingcheng's matter in her heart. So she changed the topic and wrote, Liancheng, I want to tell you something. Don't get excited. You want to trick me with the dog's nude photos again? Huo Liancheng sent a squint emoji. Qingcheng has woken up. Jian Yun still could not wait for Huo Liancheng to come back and tell him. Huo Liancheng was clearly very confused. She did not sleep and came to find you again? I mean, Qingcheng talked to me at night. Jian Yun sent this message and immediately became more righteous. To be exact, we were lying on the bed and she was writing in my hand. She also told me that the room in her wheelchair was bugged, so we talked for the whole night. Huo Liancheng was silent, as if he had not realized what had happened. Jian Yun also knew that such news was too shocking. If she was not involved, she would not believe it either. Qingcheng said that she had regained consciousness a year ago, but at that time, her body was weak and she was lying on the bed. No one knew that she was awake. That was why she knew that Huo Changfeng had always been by her side. And your mother was biased towards Huo Changfeng. She was afraid that she would be hurt again, so... Jian Yun gritted her teeth and sent the message. There was still no response from Huo Liancheng's side. Jian Yun could not wait and could not help but press the video call. Huo Liancheng's side quickly hung up, which meant that he had been there all along. That meant that he was actually too shocked by the news and did not know how heck. Indeed, Huo Liancheng did not know how to respond. At this moment, he was standing outside the meeting room of the Huo's building in America. His face was pale. His usually sharp and wise eyes were filled with gourd. Yes, he was helpless. This was the first time Huo Liancheng showed such an expression. Even when he was in a car accident and heavily injured, he had never felt such fear and hesitation when he was so close to death. Because he did not expect Huo Changfeng's hand to be so long. He had been running away all these years, unwilling to go home, unwilling to see Qingcheng's silent appearance. He did not expect it to be wrong. It was probably because of his escape that Huo Changfeng was so daring. However, did mother really not know what Huo Changfeng did? If she knew that Huo Changfeng had done such a thing, she would continue to cover for him and tolerate him. Huo Liancheng closed his eyes in pain. His hands were clenched into fists. The veins on the back of his hands were bulging. Liancheng, are you listening? Jian Yun thought that Huo Liancheng did not answer the video call because he saw that Huo Qingcheng had a bug in her wheelchair. She whispered, Liancheng, I am panicking now. I feel that there are surveillance cameras everywhere in the house. I don't even dare to say anything. Don't be afraid. Huo Liancheng finally had a response. Although it was short, it was very firm. You stay with Qingcheng. I will arrange for Chen Xin to protect you. Stay at home. Don't go anywhere. Wait for me to come back. Yes? Jian Yun originally wanted to mention what Huo Qingcheng said about not daring to tell Huo Liancheng, but on second thought, she herself did not know what was going on. If she said it rashly, it would only add to Huo Liancheng's troubles. Why not wait until he came back and ask Huo Qingcheng himself? Go to sleep. I still have matters to take care of here. I am currently in a meeting. Huo Liancheng could no longer remain calm, but he did not want to show any emotions to make Jian Yun worry about him. Okay. Jian Yun sent a message and logged out of WeChat. She was in a panic and felt that her phone was not safe anymore, so she quickly logged in and deleted all the chat records. Only then did she feel a little relieved. When Jian Yun came out of the washroom, she found Huo Qingcheng was still sleeping. She turned her head and looked at the wheelchair beside the bed. Her eyes narrowed and she quietly got on the bed. The next morning, when Jian Yun woke up, the sky was not bright yet and Huo Qingcheng was not awake. Jian Yun rubbed her forehead and felt her head throbbing in pain. After talking with Huo Qingcheng last night, she did not sleep much and kept thinking about what Huo Changfeng wanted to do. Later, she fell asleep in a daze. She began to dream again. In her dream, she was preparing for the college entrance exam. Originally, she was full of confidence, but on the morning of the college entrance exam, she was going to take the exam, but found that she did not know anything. At that time, Jianyun broke out in cold sweat and woke up. At this time, Jian was lying on the bed, and her heart was still pounding. She did not know why she had a dream of taking the college entrance exam for no reason. How many years had she graduated? Could it be because she recently resigned and had thoughts of studying and studying? That was why she had the dream of taking the exam? Sigh, she didn't care. The matter at hand hadn't been resolved yet, so how could she have the mood to think about studying in the university? At 7:15, Huo Qingcheng had not woken up yet, but there was a knock on the door. Chapter 355, Tough Girl. Jianyun went to open the door and saw that it was Huo Qingcheng's nanny, Helena. This woman was Swiss and had been taking care of her ever since Huo Qingcheng got into trouble. However, Huo Qingcheng told Jianyun last night that Helena was one of Huo Chengfeng's spies planted by her side. Huo Qingcheng said that there were other spies, but her range of activity was too narrow. She usually came into contact with Helena and the others, so she was not sure. Jianyun heard this and felt her heart palpitate, and her heart ached even more for Huo Qingcheng. She had suffered such great misfortune at such a young age and had finally woken up, but how she should live every day. Madam, I have come to fetch Miss. Helena originally spoke English to Jianyun, but her English was not fluent enough. Seeing that Jianyun could speak French, she was now speaking French to Jianyun. Miss is not awake yet. Come back later. Jianyun now saw Helena and felt her heart shiver, but she could not show it on her face. She only pretended to be polite normally. Helena looked at her watch and nodded with a frown. All right then. Jianyun wanted to close the door, but Helena used her hand to support the door and said with a smile, Madam, can I go in and wait for Miss? Jianyun heard these words and felt a little angry in her heart. Usually, Helena would wake Huo Qingcheng up early and push her to the garden. At first, Jianyun thought that this nanny was very conscientious, but now that she thought about it, she realized that Helena was clearly a wicked servant. Huo Qingcheng was a puppet doll in her hands and could arrange any cloth she wanted. This is my room. It is not appropriate for you to come in. Jianyun suppressed the anger in her heart and continued to laugh. Before Huo Liancheng came back, she did not want to have a falling out with Helena and did not want to alert the enemy. Helena's expression was a little awkward, but she did not insist. She made a cautious expression and said respectfully, I'm sorry, madam. I crossed the line. I was just worried that Miss was always taken care of by me. If she suddenly cannot see me, she will feel uneasy. It's okay. I am here. If she wakes up, I will call you. Jianyun smiled unfamiliarly. Okay, madam. Helena turned around and left. Jianyun closed the door and saw sunlight coming in through the curtains. It just happened to land on Huo Qingcheng's face on the bed. She walked over and picked up the remote control to close the curtains. When she turned her head, she found Huo Qingcheng looking at her with her eyes open. Huo Qingcheng's eyes were the typical apricot-shaped eyes. They were especially beautiful. Her eyes were pitch black, and there was a trace of blue in the whites of her eyes. They looked like the eyes of a baby. Especially when she looked at people, there was always an innocent temperament that made people women. Jianyun pursed her lips and did not say anything. Instead, she laid down in the same posture as last night and laid face to face with Huo Qingcheng. Huo Qingcheng reached out her hand and quietly wrote 2 words in her palm. Thank you. Thank me for what? Jianyun was surprised. I hate Helena. Huo Qingcheng slowly wrote. When I just woke up, she already knew. But she and her mistress did not want me to wake up and kept drugging me. Later on, probably because she saw that I did not get better, she stopped. But she still often put sleeping pills in my cup. Jianyun's hands tightened and anger immediately surged in her heart. Big sister, I have already endured it for a long time. I was waiting for an opportunity. This time, Big Brother brought you back, and I am really very happy. Huo Qingcheng looked at Jianyun and quickly thanked this line of words to appease Jianyun. At this moment, her big eyes flashed with light. Are you not afraid that I am a bad person? Jianyun was very curious. That day when she saw Huo Qingcheng for the first time, Huo Qingcheng had reacted to her. At that time, she thought that she really had such great charm that she could wake up a vegetative person. She was even happy for a long time. The person that Big Brother likes, she is not a bad person. Huo Qingcheng smiled. She is so confident. Jianyun also smiled and replied, Then I really have to thank you for liking me so much. Right, big sister. Don't act strange for the time being. Helena can do whatever she wants. Huo Chengfeng has been nurturing his own power. Big Brother is in the open and Huo Chengfeng is in the dark. I'm afraid that Big Brother will lose out. Huo Qingcheng said worriedly. You look down on your Big Brother too much. Jianyun flicked Huo Qingcheng's forehead. She was really convinced. These 2 siblings were really born from the same mother. They were both so thoughtful. Even if Huo Qingcheng had already become like this, she could still be so patient. Furthermore, she did not blame the heavens. She carefully planned for every step she would take in the future. Jianyun had heard from Huo Liancheng that Huo Qingcheng was very smart. She was accepted by MIT at the age of 16 and studied spatial physics. Her dream in the future was to enter NASA. She also designed her own jewelry and had her own jewelry brand at a young age. If she was fine back then, she would be as successful as her brother now. However, all of Huo Qingqing's dreams had been destroyed by the man-made car accident. The current her was like a walking corpse. Although her mind had recovered, she was afraid that Huo Qingfeng would become a demon again, so she did not dare to undergo rehabilitation training. As a result, her body was still so weak. When Jianyun thought of this, her nose became sore again. Her heart ached as she tightly held Huo Qingqing's hand. Huo Qingqing's thoughts were very careful. She looked at Jianyun's eyes and knew that this sister-in-law was feeling sorry for her. She did not say anything but just pursed her lips and smiled. She mouthed, "Big sister, there is no need to pity me. I am fine. The current ordeal is just, I believe that I will be able to recover very quickly and walk under the blue sky with you and Big Brother." Yes. Jianyun nodded lightly. She knew that there must be someone eavesdropping here. Looking at the time, it was almost 8 o'clock. She also used her mouth to ask Huo Qingqing, "You are up?" Huo Qingqing nodded. Jianyun sat up and deliberately stretched. She even let out a comfortable sigh. "Qingqing, today's weather is very good. I'll push you to the garden later." After saying this, Jianyun waited. Sure enough, before she could count to 10, there was a knock on the door. Helena asked outside, "Madam, is Miss up?" Jianyun and Huo Qingqing exchanged glances. Both of their eyes were cold. It seemed that Helena was really monitoring Huo Qingqing at all times. She smiled and said, "Yes, Ishiveg, the door is not locked. Come in." Helena pushed the door open and entered. Her attitude was still respectful, and her expression was old-fashioned and respectful. She was not smiling or smiling. She looked like a serious and responsible person. But after knowing her background, Jianyun hated her from the bottom of her heart, especially when she thought about how she continuously fed Huo Qingqing sedatives to control Huo Qingqing. Jianyun really wanted to stuff those medicines into Helena and Huo Chengfeng's mouths. Helena carried Huo Qingqing and placed her on the wheelchair. The wheelchair was specially made, and Huo Qingqing could sit very comfortably. The moment Helena entered, Huo Qingqing's eyelids drooped and the light in her eyes dimmed and became empty.